We are now going to do a demonstration of the EverSafe Business Continuity and Disaster Recovery solution. The first thing we're looking at here is the EverSafe main menu, where we have an overview dashboard of our device. In this case, our device is our CFBS BDR3 for Business Disaster Recovery device, third generation. And here we can see all of the servers that are being protected, how much space they're taking up on the local device, and over here we can see the last time these servers were replicated to the cloud. If we scroll down, we can see each of the servers that we have, local agent information, and if we look at the bottom, any shared capabilities, because the EverSafe device includes full NAS or network attached storage capability, as well as file sync and share. We're going to look at the next tab here called the Protect tab. This is where you set up and manage all of your backups. Again, you'll see our list of servers here that are being backed up, and we'll focus on one particular demonstration server here, our CF-SP server, which is a SharePoint server that also houses a sample copy of QuickBooks Enterprise to show as an example business application. You can see here the last time it was backed up was at 7:05. This particular server is backed up at 60-minute intervals with override settings that would make it occur twice a day, since it's just a sample server. You can see how much storage it has, how much data is used locally because of all of the versions that we're storing, etc. If we want to, we can right from here kick off a manual backup, or we could look at our local recovery points here as well. Now, the first thing we're going to do before we go further here is actually launch off a copy of the live server. So we're going to go to our remote desktop here and log into that server, and we will enter our password. And that's what the CF-SP server currently looks like. We'll go ahead and launch a copy of QuickBooks Enterprise as a demonstration here. And we'll open up our sample company file. And once in here, we'll go ahead and enter a new transaction under sales orders. So we'll pick a customer job, pick the first one on the list. We'll pick an item here. Let's say blueprints, quantity of 1 for $550. We'll save our transaction. And that new record of data has been entered into QuickBooks. We'll go ahead and close QuickBooks here, and we'll just open up WordPad to show a document being created, and we'll call this EverSafe Demo, and we'll save this document, and we'll just put it in our My Documents folder. We'll call it EverSafe. So now we have a document stored called EverSafe Demo as well. Now, the next thing we're going to do, we'll just minimize this server, and we'll go back to the EverSafe device and look at some of the settings here under CF-SP. Before we do that, we'll quickly start a backup and manually kick off an entire backup of that server that we had just logged into. So while it's doing that, we'll look at our settings in terms of our recovery points. A recovery point is everything inside of the EverSafe device that is a backup image at different points in time. The last recovery point we had was from 7:05 a.m. As you can tell now, it's currently 10:41 a.m. And you can see the prior backups from prior days. There's some important symbols here. This icon represents the fact that this backup has also been replicated to the cloud. You can set up how many you want to replicate to the cloud. Typically, you replicate to the cloud less often than you do to the local device. This camera icon means a screenshot was successfully verified. That means after the backup occurred, the EverSafe device booted up the virtual copy of the backup, whether the original server was a virtual machine or a physical machine, and made sure it was able to get to a screenshot where you can hit Control-Alt-Delete to log in. You can even set up advanced scripts so that the EverSafe device can log into the virtual machine and check to see if various applications or servers are running and send you back confirmation of that as well to make sure the entire server is properly operating, because you don't want to find out that your backup isn't valid when you need to restore it. Because of all these snapshots and our proprietary inverse chain technology, any one of these backups can be deleted. Unlike traditional backups where you take a major backup, say once a week, and then incrementals during the days, most backup solutions, when you lose an incremental, all of the backups taken after the point of that incremental become useless. With EverSafe, every backup taken since the incremental is fully intact, so you have the freedom to delete them or even have a corrupt incremental, which is extremely rare, and it in no way affect your ability to restore or virtualize from or boot from any of the backups taken since then. Going back to the Protect tab and scrolling down to CF-SP, you can see it's almost complete with this backup, which only takes a few minutes or a few seconds depending on the size of the device. And while we're waiting for that, we'll look at the agent settings. The agent settings are where you can customize how you want your backups for this server to occur. In this case, you can see it's set up to go hourly, but only for hours 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. You can simply click on the blocks that you want to create any additional backups that you might need. You can set up how often you want to retain the backups as well as how often they get merged into a larger backup. So let's say you're taking 9 backups a day of one of your important servers. After a week, you may want to collapse those 9 backups into a once a daily backup, which takes up less space. The system will automatically merge them so that you always have recent data available down to the hour for recent backups, and then older data available down to the day or the weekly basis. We'll go back to the Protect tab, and we'll scroll down to that server, and we'll see that backup was completed at 10:43 a.m., so it had no problems at all. If we were to go back to our recovery points, you'll see an entire snapshot image of that server was taken. However, if we look at the amount of space that snapshot took, it only took less than 1 gigabyte to keep or create a server that can be booted from a 100 gigabyte parent server. So you can see how efficient our snapshotting technology is. Here you can see that the system can optionally replicate this to the cloud if you want to, or we can let the system automatically do it. We'll go ahead and click on this and tell it we want to sync that off-site, and we'll send that snapshot that we made to the cloud backup servers. Now, to simulate a disaster, we're going to go over here to our live running server, and we're going to go ahead and shut it down. So we're going to shut down the server. So suppose the motherboard had gone or a hard disk error had occurred. That server is now offline. Now we want to go ahead and look at the next tab here, and this is our Restoration tab. This tab here shows us all of our protected systems. So we choose the server we want to recover from, and then we can choose to do a file restoration, a local virtualization, which brings our backup up inside the EverSafe device, which can then be tested or used for production if our main server went down, or we can bring the server up in the cloud if our local facility went down. We'll go ahead and just do a simple file restore from the backup that we just took, and we'll say Start File Restore and Mount. And now you can see that quickly that entire image is available from a file standpoint, and we can access it via browser, or we can do it through a file manager share. So here you can see all of the contents of that server. We could go into users, we could go into the administrator, and in here you'll see the document that we had created, which was our EverSafe RTF file. And we can simply click on it here, open it up, and there's our demonstration file. So it's that simple to restore files, and again, there's many advanced features here. And the next thing we're going to show is suppose that server went down, but our facilities are fine. Or we wanted to use that test version of that server for some product testing or upgrade testing or what have you. So we'll pick that server and we'll say local virtualization, pick the point in time we want and say Start Virtualization. Then from here we can specify the amount of cores, how much RAM, and whether we want it on our network, completely disconnected from the internet, or connected to the internet but not on our network, so that you can have access to the internet but not affect other machines or have a duplicate machine running or what have you. We'll go ahead and we'll say Apply. And now we'll go ahead and start that virtual machine. And what the system now is doing is assembling that machine together from the snapshot. And once done, it'll start booting that server just as if we powered it up. So as we speak, you saw it only took a few seconds. It's starting to boot up that server inside the EverSafe device. You don't need any additional hardware. While it's booting, we can connect directly through remote desktop. And we just wait for it to virtualize, which it also, because it's in a new device, detects some additional hardware and needs to install those drivers, which have already been preloaded into the backup image as part of the standard EverSafe backup process. And it's completed and ready for booting. So we'll hit our Control-Alt-Delete to log in. Log in as the administrator. And you can see it looks very similar, except this time this is not the same local IP device. This is running inside our EverSafe server. We'll go ahead and launch QuickBooks. And you'll see the performance of the EverSafe virtual machine is typically as good, if not faster, than your original machine, depending on your hardware configuration. So now we'll go ahead and bring up our trial page to bring up our demonstration database. And we'll open our sample data file. And if we go into sales orders here, and we look at our last sales order, you'll see there is our blueprint record we had added from our live server. So let's go ahead and close QuickBooks. And we'll just go ahead to our My Documents folder. And you'll see that WordPad document is there as well. So we'll go ahead and shut down this server here. We'll go back to our EverSafe device and we'll just stop and unmount this as if we never ran that restoration. So the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and simulate a local disaster where we had, say, a fire or a long-term power outage or other situation in which all of our local servers, including our EverSafe device, are unavailable. We're going to go ahead to our Restore tab like we did before, but instead of saying local virtualization when we select our device, we're going to go ahead and say virtualize in the cloud. Here you'll see all of the cloud instances that are snapshotted, and here's the manual one we sent up shortly ago. So we'll click on that and say Start Hybrid Virtualization. We'll say how much RAM we can assign, and what kind of storage controller, do we want to connect it to the internet or not. So we'll say go ahead and virtual firewall and internet like before and build the VM. And the thing about the hybrid virtualization is that it'll virtualize in the cloud, but if your on-premise network is intact, it can come back and look like the server is located on your local network in terms of IP addressing, so you don't have to reroute everything. If your premises are destroyed, then you wouldn't do a cloud virtualization, hybrid virtualization. You'll just do a regular cloud virtualization. So we'll give that a minute to build the virtual machine in the cloud, take it out of storage, and then have that ready to boot. So you can see very quickly it's done. So we'll now go ahead and mount and start that virtual machine. And we could go ahead and click on this RDP link to log into it. And you can see it's now starting to boot the machine. And now it's done booting, so we'll go ahead and send a Control-Alt-Delete to the cloud. And we will log in. Just takes a moment to boot from a cold boot. And now we're ready to test it. We'll now open up the trial homepage, open our sample file, so now that we're in it, we'll go ahead into our sales order screen, and we'll look at the last order that's here, and there's that same order that was backed up in that snapshot image. We'll go ahead and close QuickBooks, and then we'll just go into our My Documents folder. First, we'll close this. And we should see the document that we created. And there it is as well. So, to summarize, what you've seen is the ability to see EverSafe going from local operation to restoring a file backup, restoring a virtualization from a point in time locally in case one of your local servers goes down, and the ability to run your servers in the cloud as well should you have a site-wide disaster.